Hello everyone. Today I'm going to present to you my FMP summary presentation for the MA Graphic Design 1.3. I first want to take a look back at a few things before I get into the FMP. Looking back at the PPP, I wanted the exhibition to be small and intimate with a capacity of no more than 15 people at a time, catered to an older crowd. The artwork that I would create would be a set of flashcards that would display curse words from the Philippines. The artwork from these cards would be then enlarged and showcased during the exhibition. As a part of the exhibition, the visitors would play a simple game of war with the cards. The card with the strongest vulgarity wins the draw. Afterwards, there will be an activity where people can take a guess as to what the words mean. This was planned to be recorded and used to promote the cards in the future. Since then, the plans have changed, and the only similarity from the old plan to the new one is that it needed to be in a small and intimate venue. Now, the exhibition is open to all ages, and the artworks that will be showcased is the unpacking of the final lino prints, which will take the viewer through the creative process starting from a suitcase. Filipinism. In 1.2, I conducted research on Filipino art to gain a greater understanding of what it is and to be able to identify the defining characteristics of Filipinism. At the outset of the unit, I was uncertain whether the artwork I intended to create would be considered Filipinism. This was essential because I understood where I wanted to go as a graphic designer, and demonstrating my identity as a Filipino artist was crucial. Art creator and founder of Kunst Art Filipino, Virgilio Quizon, mentions that use where you have grown up, use your environment and other things around, and this is Filipinism. On the Kunst Art Filipino website, it mentions, it is the aesthetic and conceptualization of the artist's ideas and the infusion of heart and soul in every piece they make that makes Filipinism. Everyone has his or her own way of molding personality and character to form a unique Filipino identity. As a Filipino graphic designer, embracing and expressing my Filipino identity is crucial to my creative endeavors. Understanding and incorporating Filipinism, the essence of Filipino culture and heritage, into my design work provides me with a deeper connection to my roots. It gives me the ability to discover and share the daily life, traditions, and history of the culture. This need to express my Filipino identity through design fills my work with authenticity and a unique perspective, making it an enjoyable and fulfilling venture. On the road. Now, before I go on, I want to take this opportunity to use the cards that I created and teach you some Tagalog words. On this card, the word is tara. Tara basically translates to let's go. So if we were together and I would say tara na, it would mean let's go now. So we know that depicting daily life and using the environment in the Philippines in art is Filipinism. The streets, the colloquial spoken in the Philippines, and textures are all part of this environment. I was fortunate enough to go to the Philippines this past January 2023, and I knew I had to take advantage of this opportunity. The plan was to take as much photos as possible of letterings from different signages of local businesses and street signs. At this point, I was unsure of the direction of where my FMP was headed, since this was prior to the start of 1.3. What I did know was that the investigation of typography, patterns, and textures in the Philippines would be an essential part of it. Every place I went to visit, I had my phone ready, actively looking for these things. It was essential that I organize the photos into distinct categories. By doing so, I would be able to identify any shared characteristics among each group, thereby gaining an understanding of which elements would be beneficial going forward. I was very pleased to be able to extract different textures, patterns, and a ton of handwritten fonts from these images. Bawal is the name I gave my font. Bawal in English basically means forbidden. This sign was on the garage of someone's property. It translates to reminder, it is forbidden to throw garbage here. Thank you. These types of signs can be seen posted on the majority of gates and fences in both the city and provincial areas. They are normally handwritten, but if someone puts in the effort, stencils are also used. In this particular one, the owner seemed to have had written the whole thing by hand and followed some rules to his lettering style. There were some inconsistencies which I enjoyed. For example, the width of the letters and the unbalanced left and right indents. I liked the distress effect that was caused by the tropical weather of the Philippines. All these imperfections will definitely be included in my final project. I used Procreate to create the letters. With Procreate, I was able to give the font a handmade feel. For letters that were not included in the photo, I had to take elements from different letters and apply it to the missing ones, such as C, V, X, Y, and Z. I decided to call this font Bawal, which means not allowed or forbidden, like I mentioned before. At the end, I created a font family which included three typefaces. Resolving. So the next word I want to teach you is bahala na. This slang basically captures the usual Filipino outlook on life. For example, if there's something stressing you and you don't know what to do, you would basically say bahala na. It means come what may or whatever happens, happens, which is how I felt when I started creating the work for this FMP. I selected lino cutting because it looked like the wood carving that the Philippines is famous for. Before this, I wanted to sharpen these skills, so I took the opportunity with my grade 6 art class to do a full unit on lino cut prints. By demonstrating and showing work samples, I was able to become more comfortable with this medium, and they also did a great job too, given that they only had 2 lessons on it. So, I would start by using patterns, items, and textures from the photographs. Then using the lino blocks, I sketched and carved them out. The majority of the patterns I designed were influenced by other patterns found on other fabrics, such as banigs, which are floor mats. When the lino cuts were finished, the next step was to transfer them on paper. Many tests were carried out to ensure the lino cuts transferred correctly. There were some faulty results, but I liked the damaged areas and included them in the final pieces. Experimenting. The time had come to put together the textures and patterns that had been collected. I had no idea how to begin, so I just started scanning and printing impressions, then repositioning the impressions on the scanner and printing them again. This was repeated multiple times, each time with a unique print. The outcomes were somewhat unpredictable, but the overlapping layers they produced were noteworthy. Patterns reimagined. After experimenting, I used Photoshop as my primary tool and decided to experiment with bringing the prints into a more controlled setting. Again at a loss on where to start, I experimented with various pattern overlaps. The initial few pieces did not meet expectations. It was when I dissected and took apart the patterns and purposefully repositioned them that the composition started to come to life. By experimenting and playing around, I learned how to achieve harmony by combining asymmetrical layers, opacities, different sizes, and colors. You could say that it was sort of an organized chaos. In light of this, the following questions came up. Can patterns and images that have been disassembled and rearranged, still represent the culture from which they were originally taken? The response to that question is yes. I was reminded of my purpose, as well as the fact that this is my unique contribution to showcasing Filipino culture. Self-promotion. Before I could start working on the promotional items, I knew that I had to finish the artworks. In order to determine the feel and identity of the exhibition, it was crucial that I had a comprehensive overview of all the finished work. I made a poster, some postcards, and a deck of poker cards for the event. I also made a pamphlet to provide anyone who came to see the exhibit some background on what inspired it. The exhibition's entire identity was a key aspect. I was aware that these promotional materials needed to include the same visual elements that was featured throughout the exhibition. The female dancer was chosen as the primary design element because she was depicted in the act of executing the traditional folk dance known as binasuan, which involves balancing a cup on the dancer's head and hands while following a set of choreographed moves. Patterns from the exhibit's artworks were used to create the dancer's clothing. The deck of cards were also essential to the exhibit as it served as an educational aid for visitors to learn Tagalog slangs and a traditional game played in the Philippines. It could also be sold as merchandise and used to promote my work. Overall, this captured what I was trying to express in the exhibition, Filipino culture seen through the layers of the artwork. Setting up. Now, the next word I want to teach you is susmariosep, which directly translates to Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. This is often used when you're upset, surprised, disappointed, or scared. On the day of setting up, I was told that there will be a parents' conference during the days of my exhibition and that my space is now limited to the back of the room. Susmariosep. Despite having such limited space, I was able to make it work out, and the situation may have played into my advantage, as the space was perfect for what the exhibition needed. Exhibition time. The name of the exhibit is Layers Unpacked, Patterns of the Philippines Reimagined. The entire exhibit fits into these luggages, and as they were unpacked and set up, you will also see how these layers of prints came about. Peer feedback. I felt pleased and motivated by the reception of my work, as it was met with overwhelming positive peer feedback at the art exhibition. It was encouraging to see that many people connected with my artistic expression. However, I found the comments that provided constructive suggestions for enhancing the exhibition to be most helpful. These thoughtful observations provided me with a new perspective and potential areas for development. Accepting this feedback enables me to develop as an artist and improve my future works. Future plans. The last word I want to teach you is basta. Basta is used when you do not feel like explaining yourself to someone and want to end your statement. For example, if someone questions you why they have to do something that you told them, you can basically say, basta, just do it. There were several projects that arose from the exhibition that can be planned moving forward. First off, I will continue to create art that represents my Filipino identity. From these works, there is a potential of developing several products. I will also put a heavy push on promoting the playing cards. I believe they have a strong potential to attract tourists who visit the Philippines who seek to learn a bit about the language. So, I always include different accessories in my outfits and would also like to design a collection of scarves. These silk or knit scarves would be decorated with colorful patterns and can be used all year round. And last, being a sneaker enthusiast, I plan to also collaborate with a sneaker brand and design limited edition sneakers. Before I end this presentation, I would like to thank Emma and Barry for the guidance they provided over the entire MA program. I would also like to thank our small cohort, Craig, Christine, Lorena, and Hannah. Your works have been inspirational, and I will miss our little meetings that I'm sure not only helped me, but helped all of us get through this program. Salamat, and thank you everyone for listening.